Okay, welcome to Orda's second and Ankara Center for Thought and Research 15th Joint International Conference, which will start today, and it will continue till tomorrow. As already introduced in the previous video presentations, this conference is aimed to allow academicians and bureaucrats, ambassadors, and so many stakeholders to present their research works, to propose their solutions and different activities which will foster the relations of the two regions, Turkey and especially East Africa. And we will expect very valuable results, discussions from this virtual conference. Welcome again to the conference. Our today's program will start with National Anthem of Ethiopia, representing East Africa, and also National Anthem of Turkey. And we will have welcoming address by Orda Director, Nawal Mohammed. And we have also very valuable keynote speech from Prof.Dr. Bulut. And we have also another keynote speech from Professor Ismael. And we have also another keynote speech from Lelise, Commissioner, Oromia Tourism Commission. Now I will transfer you directly to the starting of the program. After this program is finalized, the successful 3 research papers will be awarded. And we would like to thank our sponsor for this program, YTB, and also there is a representative from YTB, expert on Middle East and East Africa. They have also their own speech today. Thank you again for all attendants online and also in the Zoom. I will directly transfer you to the National Anthem of Ethiopia, representing East Africa and Turkey.
We often highlight to read better, but how would you do so on web pages?
Welcome again. Hoş geldiniz tekrar. Bu program Orda Araştırma ve Kalkınma Derneği'nin ikincisi. Ankara Düşünce ve Araştırma Merkezi'nin 15. ortaklıkla düzenlenen bir konferans. Bu konferans değerli akademisyenler, bürokratlar, büyükelçiliklerin ortaklıkla sunacağı bir öneri olacak, sunumlar olacak, araştırmalar olacak, yayınlar olacak. Bu program 2 gün devam edecek. Bugün başlayacağız. Bu programın sonunda seçilen 3 tane yayınlar ödül verilecektir. Çok başarılı bir program olacağını umut ediyoruz. Hem Türkiye hem de Afrika'ya, özellikle Doğu Afrika'ya arasındaki çeşitli alanlardaki ilişkileri daha güçlendireceğini, önemli sonuçların ortaya çıkacağına inanıyorum. Başarılar sunum yapanlar için. Programımız başladık. Sonra Nawal Mohammed, Orda'nın başkanı konuşmasını yapacak. The next program will be with Miss Nawal, the director of Orda. She is now PhD candidate at Yildirim Beyazıt University in Ankara. She is hardworking and also transformed Orda to this stage. We would like to thank you. Actually, I forget to introduce myself. I am also Abafita. I am assistant professor at Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University. And also I am founding member of the Orda and the previous board chair. Again, good luck for all of you, and I will invite Ms. Nawal Mohammed to the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abafita. Good morning, everybody. Her Excellency Ambassador Yaprak Alp, Ambassador Designate of Republic of Turkey to Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and Permanent Representative to the Africa Union, Her Excellency Ms. Lelise Dhugaa, Commissioner of Oromia Tourism Commission, His Excellency Professor Dr. Mehmut, Bulut, President of İstanbul Sabahattin Zaim University, Mr. Cengiz Polat, Coordinator of Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Agency in Ethiopia, TICA, Ms. Ceren Erdal, Middle East and Africa Coordinator from President of Presidency for Turks Abroad and Related Communities, YTB, Mr. Wandemu Gezahan, the Consul General of Ethiopia in Istanbul, Dr. Ismael Söylemez, Head of Center for African Studies from Union University, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored and delighted to welcome you to the Orda Research and Development Association, ORDAS, as well as Ankara Center for Thought and Research, ADAM's 15th Joint International Virtual Conference entitled The Past, Present, Future of East Africa-Turkey Multidimensional Relations. Orda is established by students and Ethiopian diaspora living in Turkey in 2018 with the aim of strengthening the historical relationship of Turkey and Ethiopia and other African countries, fostering economic development and developing human capital. Furthermore, the organization has an objective of enabling the region to make use of natural resources through promoting research and educational activities. In order to realize its objectives, Orda works on problem-solving research undertakings, training and capacity building, strengthening Ethio-Turkish relations, humanitarian activities, and serving as a bridge in the transfer of technologies. This year's conference is organized in partnership with Ankara Center for Thought and Research. Our main themes are East Africa and Turkish Economic and Trade Partnership, Culture, History, Tourism, and Educational Collaborations. Before we get started, I would like to extend our heartfelt appreciation for institutions and individuals that immensely contributed for the organization of this conference. To mention just a few, first and foremost, I would like to thank the Ankara Center for Thought and Research for partnering with Orda in the realization of this conference. Secondly, Presidents for Turks Abroad and Related Communities who have financially supported this conference. Thirdly, our program committee for generously donating their time and expertise to review all submitted papers, and our media team for their excellent work to hold this conference virtually. We couldn't have done it without you. Finally, I hope the participants of this conference will have two most productive days of interesting and stimulating discussions. I sincerely wish that this conference will be a great success, not only as a chance to share knowledge and experiences, but also as a turning point to increase the relationship between Turkey and East Africa by highlighting strategies to enhance the collaboration through research. And without further ado, I warmly welcome His Excellency Professor Dr. Mehmut Bulut, President of Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University and Director of Ankara Center for Thought and Research, to deliver the opening speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nawal, for your nice welcoming speech. Our next speaker will be Ms. Ceren Erdal, an expert in Prime Ministry Presidency for Turks abroad in related communities. She's an expert in Middle East and coordinator of Middle East and Africa in Ethiopia. This is your turn. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abafita. Dear participants, first of all, as the Presidency for Turks Abroad and Related Communities, we would like to thank you to Orda Research and Development Association and the organization committee of this conference. It is a valuable opportunity for all of us to discuss the past and the future of our relations with special guests, experts, and academicians from different fields, and it's full of information and knowledge in that sense. Organizing this conference about multi-dimensional relations between East Africa and Turkey is also a meaningful, especially because of the year 2021 has a great symbolic importance, as it is the 125th year of bilateral relations between Ethiopia and Turkey. And this year, we had a joint economic commission meetings with Ethiopia, and the Minister of Internal Affairs of Ethiopia, Excellency, also mentioned the importance of this year on his speech, emphasizing that it will lead to organize numerous events between Turkey and Ethiopia. But thanks to this conference, we took even further by organizing this conference on East Africa and Turkey. So the Africa Action Plan, which was first launched by Turkey in 1998, it was a real turning point for Turkey and Africa relations. This has increased Turkey's interest in the continent, and unlike many other countries, which has also interest in the region, the Turkey's approach to the region is based on understanding of winning together. So we believe that we have so much to learn from each other's experience, and we have so much in common in terms of cooperation in the field of trade and investments and education and so on. And as a reflection of this perspective, Turkey has been declared a strategic partner by the African Union. Accordingly, the relations between Turkey and East Africa has also improved. And of course, I'm not going to give a speech about mutual relations among states or some other efforts such as Turkey's participation to the East African Countries Partnership Fund, because we have so many experts. I mean, they also have so many things to say on this issue. But for our part, for YTB, we also are increasing our projects or programs towards East African countries or the overall continent. YTB, for the ones who may need more information about it, is a governmental organization which is working under the Ministry of Culture of Turkey and is working like a diaspora agency of Turkey. So we are implementing programs for our Turkish students living abroad, which means more than 6 million diaspora. And we are responsible for the governmental funded scholarship program named Turkey Scholarships, which is for international students who would like to study in the universities of Turkey. And we are also implementing social and cultural programs in cooperation with other governmental offices or NGOs from all over the world, including the East African countries. So there are a great number of scholarship students, lots of students from East African countries who apply for Turkish scholarships every year. First, I would like to give a couple numbers about the details what we are doing in the region. So in 2021, we have got almost 25,000 applications just from East African countries. And there are almost 2,000 applications just from Ethiopia, for instance. And almost 5,000 students from East African countries have been granted scholarship by YTB since 2012, because the Turkey scholarship program was launched in that year actually. But of course, Turkey has been implementing the scholarship program since 1992. So if we add the numbers to that, 2,000, then it will be a great number actually. And there are over 1,000 alumni from East African countries. And we believe that actually our graduates play an important role in the development of bilateral relations, because there are doctors, journalists, lawyers, architects, economists, academicians among them. And some of them are working in the public sector, while the others are working in the private sector, in which they are contributing both to their countries and also to the relations between Turkey and their homelands. And also there are alumni associations in some countries like Ethiopia, Tanzania, Somalia, and Sudan. And as YTB, we are also glad to support their cultural activities in those countries. And also we have another scholarship program for the professionals, the Turkish language program for public officials and academicians named Katip, which is also has been carried out since 2014. And so far we got applications from 22 different African countries, and just 19 participants from Ethiopia, Djibouti, Kenya, Madagascar, Mozambique, Somalia, and Sudan has participated for that program. And actually, this is a huge opportunity in terms of experience sharing among professionals, because we have so many experts from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, from East African countries. We have so many academicians for this program. And of course, the experience sharing is not just limited to the field of education, but also it's occurred in the media sector as well. Since 2019, we organized African Media Representative Program named AFMET, and the program actually is designed for media professionals who are working in the media sector in African countries. And we think that this kind of programs are also important in terms of networking among professionals, because we can understand each other as much as we can know each other actually. So during this program, we are not just simply giving seminars to the professionals or media representatives, but we also ensure that they have contact with their counterparts in Turkey. For instance, their counterparts from TRT, which is a national television in Turkey, and also we are making connections with their counterparts from Anatolian Agency. And also we invite African ambassadors to Turkey for this program, so it can lead a sustainable cooperation among states. I would like to share a short sample of this cooperation. In 2020, we organized an online experience sharing session with the AFMET participants and discussed about the role of the media in COVID-19 pandemic. Because we know the media representatives from different African countries have a valuable experience to handle such a pandemic, especially they know a lot from the Ebola case. So as Turkey will learn a lot from their experience in that sense. And of course, YTB, the Diaspora Agency of Turkey, is working as a diaspora agency of Turkey, besides the other field of working that we are dealing. But on the diaspora part, we have cooperations with our African counterparts in the field of diaspora as well. We have so many cooperations with the national agencies from East African countries. We have cooperation with Ethiopian Diaspora Agency. We have cooperations with Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Somalia and Global Somalian Diaspora Platform. and we have connection with General Directorate for Sudanese Abroad, and actually we have signed a memorandum of understanding for these agencies in the field. So because actually we don't see that, I mean, we don't think that the only cooperation fields that can be occurred in the field is just not in Africa, but also we have so many common issues in Europe, in Australia as well, because we have, East African countries also have their own diasporas in Europe, as Turkey have, also in Australia. So maybe we can have so many things to improve in those continents as well. And we are sure that we'll have more cooperation with other East African countries in governmental levels as well. And actually we are planning to organize a panel with participation of representatives of diaspora institutions from African countries in cooperation with the African Union this year. It will be about the Turkey-Africa relations in the field of diaspora, actually. So thanks to all these efforts, we will enlarge our cooperation with East African countries in a different field of work. I don't want to take the time of other speakers, and thanks a lot to Orda, Orda Research and Academic Association, for organizing this conference and giving us a floor to speech. And thanks a lot to other participants who will share their own perspectives during the sessions. And we believe that it will be a great and useful session to contribute the relations between East Africa and Turkey. Thanks a lot, and thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Aaron, for your nice speech about HTB and also about Turkey and East African multidimensional relations. Our next speaker will be His Excellency Professor Dr. Mohammed Bulut, the President of Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University, Professor in Economics and Economic History. He is a very model academician and authority in his field. He is also Ankara Thought and Research Foundation Chairperson. Welcome, Professor, to our today's conference as keynote speaker on Turkey and African relations. We would like to thank you for your all cooperations with our association, Orda. I remind that the initiator of even this conference is Professor Mehmut Bulut. While I started working in Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University during his interview, he mentioned about the ADAM Ankara Thought and Research Foundation, and also his interest to organize a conference, 15th conference, actually physically. Our first plan was to organize it physically, but due to pandemic, it was not possible. Actually, we realized it, inshallah, in the future also we'll do it physically in Ethiopia. Welcome, Professor, and this is your turn. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abdul Fattah. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. My dear colleagues, professors, researchers from Africa and from Turkey and also from different parts of the world, I am very happy to be with you today in this conference. This is, as you mentioned, the 15th of international conference with ADAM Ankara Center for Thought and Research and the Orda in Ethiopia, the research center. Before this conference, we realized 14 conferences in different countries around Turkey. We have been in Tanzania, in eastern part of Africa before in Zanzibar, and we were also in Ghana in the western part of Africa, and also in some other countries. But we were planning, as you mentioned, to be with our brothers and sisters, to be physically face-to-face. In Turkish, we call ru-beru, face-to-face, to meet in Ethiopia, in the Jimma University. But unfortunately, because of this COVID-19, nowadays we have to realize this conference by online. But thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillah, it is again a good opportunity to be with you and to share the ideas on our relations with East Africa from the past to the present time, on economic, social, cultural, political, and in all other aspects. We will find time to discuss these relations, and I hope with this conference, our relations will increase with our brothers and sisters in East Africa, and also the relations between our institutions. First with Ankara Center for Thought and Research, YTB, Turkish Türkiye Akraba Toplulukları, and also between our other official and NGOs relations, and also with Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University and the other institutions in Ethiopia and in the other parts of Eastern Africa. I would like to thank to all the organizers of this conference. First of all, to take initiative, Abdul Fettah, our Dr. Abdul Fettah from Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University, and then to Dr. Cem Korkut from Ankara Center for Thought and Research, and Mehmet Tuğrul, and Ceren Erdal from the Türkiye Yurtdışı Türkler, we call it YTB, you know, it is a very famous institution. It's very important for students, especially who are coming from abroad to Turkey. And also I would like to thank to the team of Orda, Research Center in Ethiopia, and also to other institutions like the Ministry of Culture and Tourism in Turkey, and other supporters of our conference, the institutions, and personally to all organizers. I hope you are doing, I am sure, you are doing very good job, and it is really very important, the relations between East Africa and Turkey. As you know, it's going back to the Ottoman times. And we had Professor Malik Bedri. He passed away, rahimahullah. He was from Sudan, and he was suggesting us to establish a branch of Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University, or a new university in eastern part of Ethiopia, to improve the relations between these two parts. As you know, this is the place of Bilal Habeshi. When we look, when we face with any face from Africa, we are remembering Bilal Habeshi, the muezzin of Prophet Mohammed sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you can imagine how Turks are, very positive and very good feeling towards Africa. And as you know, these relations are, they were really very important. The Ottomans came to this land when the Portuguese, the Western Europeans, reached to East African coast, to Red Sea region, and as you know, there were a real open market economy for all colors, for all nationalities, for all religions, for 2 or 3 millenniums, in that region, because Mecca in, Arabian Peninsula, it was the center of the humanity from the beginning of human beings. And from that time, then it became the trading center, the commercial center between the East and West. So that means between Asia and Africa, for a long time, there was a world system for 3 millennium, and the center was that region, and all traders, merchants, entrepreneurs were coming together around that place from Africa, from Asia. And so there were really very strong tradition on all kind of exchange of goods, exchange of ideas, and sharing all the things that we have in this world. It was a kind of sharing economic model, and all sides, they were benefited. But when the Europeans reached to this region at the end of 15th century, they start to monopolize first trade and then the other sources. And they started to disturb the people who are joining to this region for trade, for intellectual activities, and for the others, or for pilgrimage. So, and then, the people from this region, they applied to the Khalifa in Cairo, to Mehmut at that time. But unfortunately, in 2 decades, they could not find any solution. Then they applied to Istanbul, to Ottoman sultans. And as you know, the Ottomans gave some notas as the present time, some messages to the Khalifa in Cairo to solve the problem, to provide the security in the region. And unfortunately, they could not solve. And then the Ottoman Sultan Selim made a decision for a campaign for this region. And, then they conquered this, the holy cities, Mecca and Medina, and they provide the security. And from that time, from the beginning of 16th century, more than 5 centuries, the Ottomans ruled this region, and they provide a real security in the region. And East African coast, Suwailis, they are speaking in that local language. And when we were at Zanzibar and Tanzania, we have faced with very historical events and very historical places that from the time of the followers of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companions, Sahaba, they came for trade, they came for explaining the Islam, the peace, and to, for there is a very long history of the region and the relations between Turkey and East Africa. So not just the relations between East Africa and Turkey, but also, as I am trying to underline, that this region was in history very important and very rich region in economic, from economic side, from intellectual side, from cultural side. But unfortunately, later on, because of the exploitation of the Westerners, then they started to, to decline. But I hope, and I am sure, nowadays, you know, the center of the world economy is moving from the west to the east, to Asia. And nowadays, Asia is rising. And I am sure after Asia, Africa is coming. And Africa will, towards the 2100, we will see African economic development will be the highest. I am sure about this as economic historian. All data are showing that the sources, and especially the young generation of Africa, the followers of Bilal Habeshi, they are coming. And if we can, realize good cooperation and collaboration between our brothers and sisters in Africa, especially with East Africa, our new generation will benefit from this, and our countries, our region will get a very high benefit, and not just our countries, but all humanity will get benefit. As you know, there are so many issues, the peace in the region, the poverty of the problems, there are so many issues, but we can solve these problems by increasing our relations, by sharing the values, by sharing the economic values, what we have. We need a new paradigm for the relations, sharing economic paradigm. And as you know, it's we are very rich about this from our history. We, have to establish a new paradigm on win to win. Both sides must win, and both sides must get benefit from, these relations, economic, cultural, political relations. And as you know, Turkey in recent times is standing on this position to raise her voice to all of the world to establish a new world order, a new system, a new economic system based on the share everything, sharing economy. And as you know, we need freedom. We need a new ethical aspects. We need a justice, and of course, we need the brotherhood perspective. And as you know, the Ottomans were following the strategy that to increase the situation for all people who are living under their borders, not just for Muslims. They called Ibadullah, Ibadullah'ın terfi ahvali. That means Ibadullah is the servants of the God, not just Muslims, but all people. It doesn't matter who belongs to which religion. So that means, I hope these relations and this organization between Ankara Center for Thought and Research and Orda Center in Ethiopia, this is a new step and a new challenge in our relations between Turkey and Ethiopia and East Africa. And we will, if we can do what we have to do, and I hope both sides will benefit, and we have some responsibilities as ADAM and as İZU, İstanbul Sabahattin Zaim University and Ankara Center for Thought and Research. We are ready to do what we can do, and we have to do our best practices for future of the generations of Africa and Turkey. If we can provide, if we can prepare in a best way in ethics, in education, in technology, in this new paradigm, these generations from Africa and Turkey will, provide a very good future for all humanity, not just for Africa or Turkey, and for all humanity. And I hope we can make some contributions as individuals and as institutions in the future. Again, I would like to thank to all organizers, and I hope a good and successful conference between ADAM and Orda. And thank you very much for giving me this chance, and wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, my dear professor. Really, it was a very valuable speech. I don't want to just comment on what the professor said, but I just want to emphasize some of the points. The Turkey is now a new model in terms of economy, technology, and in terms of so many important cultural, social values. And Turkey is now following all-win principle, irrespective of religion, colors, and they are now new models in this aspect. I hope this will foster also the new world order. It will support the new arrangement. Thank you, dear professor. Professor, actually, his economic history. He mentioned about the history of Turkey and East Africa specifically. So really, we benefited from your speech. I hope also others benefited very well. Thank you very much, dear professor. Our next speaker is also Professor İsmael Söylemez from İnönü University. Concerning Africa, there are actually limited research centers. Now, Professor İsmael Söylemez is head of Center for African Studies in İnönü University. They are doing very valuable works. They will share their experience with us. Hocamız Professor İsmael Söylemez, İnönü Üniversitesi'nde Afrika Araştırma Merkezi'nin başkanlığını yapıyor. Hocamız buyurun, konuşmanızı takdir ediyoruz.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome this program, and firstly thank to all of organizations. I wish you are fine. We all are having hard times, and also all of the world is the same with us. And unfortunately, international relations and academic studies are also affected by this adverse situation. I want to believe that Turkey and Eastern Africa, especially Ethiopia, are less seriously affected by this process. East Africa and especially Ethiopia is very important for Turkey, as you know, because as you know, center of African Union is in the Ethiopia. So we can say that Ethiopia is the capital of Africa. And also, as you know, first consulate of Turkish Republic, we can say, had opened in the Harar, Ethiopia. And you must know that Harar is very, very important for us. And you can see these articles about Harar, which start with this sentence. Harar is fourth city of the Islamic civilization. After Mecca, Medina, Qudus, and fourth one is Harar. And Harar is in the Ethiopia, as you know. Then I'm so glad to be a part of this conference and this program. Thank you, firstly, Dr. Abdullah, Abdul Fattah, Abdullah, Hassan, and other dear friends. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be a part of this conference. I want to say some things about the relationship between Ethiopia and Turkey, or relations between Eastern Africa and Turkey. But I think I cannot say anything when Mrs. Ceren Erdal is here and had a good speech from YTB. We must say that what is the YTB? Yurt dışı akraba topluluklar. What is the yurt dışı? Yurt dışı is abroad, as you know. And I must say only a word, akraba. What is the akraba? Yurt dışı akraba topluluklar. When we say yurt dışı akraba topluluklar, community relations, and we go to in Africa, in Ethiopia, then you must answer that. What is the Ethiopia for Turkey? Isn't it akraba? What is the akraba? Relations. Your relations, not foreigners. And then I want to say any others. For example, my brother's name is Bilal. My small brother is Bilal. And I know that in every family in Turkey, you can find one Bilal. Who is the Bilal? And what is the importance of the Bilal for Turkey? By the Bilal, every family in Turkey and everybody in Turkey know Habeshistan. Maybe many of them don't know anything about Ethiopia because it is a modern name, a new name for us. But Habeshistan is known by all of the families in the Turkey and all of everyone. And for example, in our family, my small brother is Bilal also. And some of them names, collect name Bilal Habeshi. You must see that. What is the relation between Turkey and Ethiopia? We must start from here. And Alhamdulillah, when I visited Ethiopia, wallahi, I can say that I didn't know if I am in abroad. It was like my hometown. It was like my hometown. And I know and I see when our Ethiopian friends visiting Turkey, they feel the same situation. They feel the same situation. When we talk with our students from Ethiopia, our friends from Ethiopia, academicians or other persons, we can see they feel the same situation. And of course, it is clear Turkey and East Africa, especially Ethiopia, must go on, must walk together. And every time you can see about Turkey political situation in Africa, everybody say win, win, win, win. But about Ethiopia, I want to say another things, not win-win. It must be win together. It must be win together, not win-win. Maybe the our strategy in other countries in the world maybe win-win, but in Ethiopia it must be win together, because there is no difference between us and we are don't different from each other. Welcome to all, and unfortunately I have not enough prepared because yesterday they said to me, and I want to go on in Turkish as a salam from Turkish to Ethiopia, and as I see, everybody can yes, they know can understand Turkish too. Tekrar selamünaleyküm. Herkese çok teşekkür ediyorum. Özellikle Orda Derneği'ne bu güzel programdan dolayı ve bu nazik davetlerinden ötürü Doktor Abdülfettah Abdullah ve diğer arkadaşlara, emeği geçenlere, herkese çok teşekkür ediyorum. İngilizce, evet, yani dün programdan haberim oldu. Herhangi bir hazırlık yapamadan katıldım. Ama konu Etiyopya ve Türkiye olunca çok da bir hazırlığa ihtiyacımız olmadığı kanaatindeyim. İngilizce'de devam edebilirim. Ama Türkiye'den Harar'a, Türkiye'den Etiyopya'ya bir selam olarak algılanmasını istiyorum bu Türkçe bölümün. Bir de Türkçe selamlamak istiyorum bu güzel dostlarımızı. Etiyopya ve Türkiye'nin ayrılığını konuşmak istemiyorum. Demin de söylediğim gibi Harar, İslam medeniyeti için birçoğumuz tarafından İslam medeniyetinin 4. şehri olarak kabul edilmektedir. Mekke, Medine ve Kudüs'ten sonra bizim 4. şehrimizdir. Sebebini hepimiz biliriz. Hicretin ilk duraklarından birisidir. Dolayısıyla bizim için çok çok önemlidir. Hafızamızda çok değerli bilgileri vardır. Türkiye'nin ta geçmişinden getirdiği güzel bir ilişki ağı vardır. Osmanlı'nın ilk dünyadaki ve Afrika'daki ilk konsolosluğunun Harar'da açıldığını ve ne mutlulukla görüyoruz ki günümüzde de onun restore edilip bir kültür merkezi olarak hizmete sunulduğunu yine biliyoruz. Şimdi demin de söylediğim gibi bizim evde de bir tane Bilal var. Küçük kardeşim Bilal. Bu neyi gösteriyor? Türkiye'de hemen her ailede bir tane Bilal var ve herkes bunun Bilal-i Habeşi olduğunu biliyor ve herkes onun Habeşistanlı olduğunu biliyor. Bu da Etiyopya'nın ve Habeşistan'ın Türkiye için nerede durduğunu, Türkiye halkı için öneminin ne olduğunun göstergesi. Bizim yapmamız gereken şey Etiyopya'yı Türkiye'ye tanıtmak değil. Bizim yapmamız gereken şey Etiyopya'yı Türkiye'ye hatırlatmaktır. Hatırlatmaktır. Hafızayı tazelemektir. Bizim problemimiz budur. Etiyopya'yı tanımamak ya da bilmemek gibi bir problemimiz yok. Bizim Etiyopya'yı unutmak gibi bir süreliğine de olsa unutmak gibi bir problemimiz var ve hatırlamalıyız. Etiyopyalı kardeşlerimiz kendilerini hatırlatmalı ve aynı şekilde Türkiye'yi de Etiyopya'ya hatırlatmalıyız. Orada da öğretmeye ihtiyacımız yok. Hatırlatmamız yeterli olacaktır. Çünkü geçmişte çok güçlü ortak bir hafızamız var. Çok güçlü ortak bir hafızamız var. Türkiye ve Etiyopya'nın. Ve Ceren Hanım'ın konuşmasından ötürü teşekkür ediyorum. Varlığı çok değerli, çok önemli bir katılım olarak görüyorum bu programa. Katıldığı kurumun ismi üzerinden yürümemiz gerektiğini düşünüyorum. Yurt dışı akraba topluluklar. Kim bu akraba? Ve bu yurt dışı akraba topluluğu Etiyopya'ya gidip, Afrika'ya gidip orada çalışma ürettiğinde parantez içerisinde ne demek istediği anlaşılıyor değil mi? Türkiye ve Etiyopyalılar akrabadır. Bu kadar. Yabancı değillerdir. Akrabadırlar. O yüzden YTB bugün Etiyopya'da son derece güzel faaliyetler yürütüyor. Doğu Afrika'da ve Afrika'nın birçok bölgesinde, dünyanın birçok bölgesinde olduğu gibi son derece değerli aktiviteler üretiyor. Değerli katkılar sunuyor. Ama akraba kelimesine özellikle vurgulamak isterim. Şimdi Türkiye'nin ilk konsolosluğunun Harar'da olmasından hareketle bu ilişkinin başlangıç noktasının son derece güçlü olduğunu söylüyoruz. Ama günümüzde maalesef bu yeterli değil. Evet, son dönemde, son 10-12 yılda, 15 yılda Afrika açılımıyla birlikte birçok ülkede 43 oldu. Afrika'nın 43 ülkesinde büyükelçiliğimiz var. Doğu Afrika'nın hemen hemen her ülkesinde büyükelçiliklerimiz var. Ama Etiyopya'da zaten başlangıçtan beri büyükelçiliğimiz vardı. Fakat bu istediğimiz oranda değil. Afrika Birliği'nin merkezi ve Doğu Afrika topluluğunun da önemli bir üyesi olan Etiyopya'yı bizim son derece önemsememiz gerekiyor. Orada çok değerli bir büyükelçimiz var. Sahayı çok iyi kullanan, sahaya inebilen, sahada çok iyi hizmetler üretebilen büyük bir büyükelçimiz var. Yaprak Hanım, sanırım onun da konuşması olacak. Bu çok önemli. Ama çok özür diliyorum. Bu yetmez. Bir kere bizim öncelikle Harar'da bir başkonsolosluk açmamız gerekiyor. Türkiye'nin Harar'da bir başkonsolosluğunun olması lazım. Ve Etiyopya'nın başka noktalarında da başkonsoloslukların açılması lazım. Etiyopya'daki en büyük eksiklerimizden bir tanesi de kültür müşavirliğimizin olmayışı, aktif olmayışı, aktif bir kültür müşavirine ihtiyacımız var. Acilen bir kültür müşavirliği açılmalı ve hızlı bir şekilde çalışmalı. Addis Ababa Büyükelçiliğimiz Afrika Birliği daimi temsilciliğini de deruhte ediyor ve yürütüyor ama bu da yetmez. Onun da bağımsız bir büyükelçiliğimiz tarafından yürütülmesi gerekiyor. Afrika Birliği nezdindeki daimi temsilciliğimiz ayrı bir enerjiye ihtiyaç duymakta çünkü. Orada ayrı bir çalışma üretmemiz gerekiyor ve güçlü bir çalışma üretmemiz gerekiyor. Dolayısıyla Addis Ababa Büyükelçiliğimiz ve Afrika Birliği nezdindeki daimi temsilciliğimiz çok iyi bir çalışma üretebileceklerdir. Ben Türkiye'deki bir araştırma merkezinin başkanı olarak hizmetinizdeyim, huzurlarınızdayım. Türkiye'de Afrika Araştırmaları Merkezi olarak 15 civarında kurumumuz olduğunu biliyoruz. Bu çok yetersiz ama yeniyiz ve inşallah daha da gelişerek devam edecek. Bizim temel hedefimiz siz değerli kardeşlerimizle ortak programlar yürütmek, programlar yapmak, ortak çalışmalar üretmek. Biz Afrika'yı Türkiye'ye öğretirken, anlatırken, hatırlatırken bunu Türkiye'lilere değil, Afrikalılara anlattırmak istiyoruz. Yani Afrika'yı Afrikalılardan öğrenmek istiyoruz. Afrika'yı Afrikalılardan dinlemek istiyoruz. Dolayısıyla ÜNÜAFAM, İnönü Üniversitesi Afrika Araştırmaları Merkezi olarak Afrikanya dergisi, Türkiye'deki tek hakemli Afrika Araştırmaları dergisi, bizim çıkardığımız Afrikanya dergisi, International Journal of African Studies in İnönü University dergimiz olarak da sizlere bütün kapılarımız açık. Özellikle sizi davet ediyoruz. Ortak çalışmalar yapalım, ortak araştırmalar yapalım. Bizim araştırmacı genç arkadaşlara ihtiyacımız var. Şu an yürütmekte olduğumuz raporlarımız, araştırmalarımız var. Sahaya inmemizi gerektiren araştırmalarımız var. En son işte çalışmakta olduğumuz bir raporumuz Dünya üzerindeki Afrika Araştırmaları Merkezi. Hangi ülkede kaç tane araştırma merkezi var ve neler yapıyorlar? Böyle bir çalışmanın içerisindeyiz. Ciddi bir mesafe aldık ama uzun süreçli, uzun soluklu bir program. Bu ve benzeri çalışmalarda da Etiyopyalı öğrencilerimiz, arkadaşlarımız, hocalarımıza destek bekliyoruz. Türkiye'deki tek akademik Afrika Araştırmaları Dergisi Afrikanya'da yine değerli hocalarımızın, arkadaşlarımızın makalelerini bekliyoruz. 1. sayıyı yayınladık. Şu an 2. sayının hazırlığına başladık. Dediğim gibi bu webinarlar yoluyla, böyle sempozyumlar yoluyla olabilir, araştırma raporları veya makaleler olabilir. Ama bu bir besmeledir. Bismillah deriz biz. Rahman-ı Rahim'e ardından gelecektir. Biz besmeleyi çektik. Ben çok da sizleri yormak istemiyorum. Dediğim gibi hafta sonu bu saatte burada olmak çok önemli. Benim için çok değerli. Böyle bir çalışmanın, etkinliğin bir parçası olmak, bu kadar güzel yüzü bir arada görmek, bu kadar güzel insanı bir arada görmek benim için çok değerli. Günüme de son derece güzel bir başlangıç vesilesi oldu. Buna vesile olan bütün arkadaşlara çok teşekkür ediyorum. Abafita Hocam, Nawal Hocam, Nawal Hussein kurumun başkanı ve orada çok önemli bir kurum, çok önemli güzelliklere imza atıyor. Bunların devam etmesini diliyorum. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Esselamu Aleyküm. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, dear Professor. Hocam çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Our professor emphasized so many important points. One of the important points emphasized is Akraba, YTB, about YTB. In Turkey, they established an institution with the name YTB in Turkish, actually. Akraba means relatives. So this is really very important point you can feel in Turkey. The Turkish people see others, Africans especially. They have very sympathy for Africans. they see us as relatives. Okay, so Turkey is a place where everyone can feel very free, very free. They are very hot peoples. They are really have good sympathy for Africa, and they have also really see others not as foreigners. Okay, and also other very important point our professor emphasized, they have like 15 research centers which are specializing only on Africa. They have also journal, so it's a good opportunity to send your academic works to their journal. Really thank you hocam, çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Hocanın hatırlattığı önemli bir husus var. Tabii Türkiye Ethiopia arasında çok önemli iş Büyükelçiliği yürüten Sayın Büyükelçi Yaprak Al konuşması yarın olacak. Çok önemli bir konuşma olacak. Herkese şimdiden bu konuyu bildirmek istiyorum. Bugün iş yoğunluktan dolayı katılamadı. Yarın konuşması olacak. Onun katılacağı konuşmasında da özellikle ekonomik Türkiye ve Doğu Afrika konusunda ekonomik ilişki, ticari ile ilgili ciddi sunumlar oluyor. Herkese bekleriz. So I want to announce now Turkish ambassador to Turkey, Her Excellency Ambassador Yaprak Alp will have her speech tomorrow. So I will invite you, all of you from now. There are also very nice presentations about Turkish and Ethiopian economic relations, and also Turkey and East African economic and other very important relations. This is also another important point. Professor Mehmut Bulut mentioned one important point. This conference was planned to be organized physically in Jimma University in cooperation with ADAM. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19, it was not possible. And actually, Professor Jemal Abafita, we were expecting his speech today, and due to some problem, he was not able to participate today. He just excused for this, and he's also with us. So I want to announce this thing. Our next guest is Lelise, Commissioner, Oromia Tourism Commission. Really, Lelise is very dynamic and doing a lot of works, especially in tourism. Professor Mohammed Bulut and also Professor İsmael has mentioned about the Turkish model for Africa, especially in terms of economy and other aspects, especially in tourism sector. We need the interaction of the two regions, East Africa and Turkey. There is very huge potential in both regions. Lelise is really highly interested in this area. I met her previously in her office. This is a very new office established by Oromia regional states. They are doing very valuable works. They want to work with Turkish tourism industries. They have good potential. I hope they will realize their project, and they have also planned to come here and also to assess a lot of tourism issues here. So I will invite Ms. Lelise, the Commissioner of Oromia Tourism Commission. Thank you for your for having you here. Okay, Ms. Lelise, I think she's preparing, or maybe there may be some technical problem. She's attending the conference from Ethiopia. Maybe there may be some internet problem, so until she solves her internet, maybe some other technical issues. So I want to say other important thing mentioned by our keynote speech. Especially the Turkey's huge investment in sub-Saharan country is in Ethiopia. A lot of trades, in so many sectors, in so many industries. Now, even in Ethiopia, it is Turkey is the top investors. There's also, and also there are top entrepreneurs in Ethiopia. They are doing a lot of works. And these days also, with respect to tourism, there is a huge number of tourists coming from Ethiopia to Turkey, and also from Turkey also to Ethiopia. We need to increase this one also. So in so many aspects of tourism, and there are so many exhibitions, fairs, which are organized in Turkey, and people previously went to very far east countries like China. Now, the trade potential is also shifted these days to Turkey. Really, Turkey is a very important model. Turkey is among very successful country who developed its economy within a very short period of time. Ms. Lelise, are you available? Okay, Ms. Lelise is not available, maybe due to internet problem. Okay. Okay, if Ms. Lelise is not available, we will conclude this session here. Maybe for the participant, I may give like 2 or 3 minutes. If you want to say something, if you want to suggest, I may give you some opportunity, like 1 or 2 minutes. Else we will conclude our session here, the first session. The next session is also very important. Well, we prepare research papers.
Can you put on the lights on? much for having me. I hope you can hear me now. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You can continue.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Okay. So I'm so honored to have been invited on this platform. Actually, what is echo? Okay. So I see myself speaking scholars and intellectuals here. I see some names from the Ethiopia side and also from the Turkish side. Thank you so much. And the ambassadors is great. I like the word Akraba. I hope we are speaking in that spirit. Sorry. So I have few slides before I get into the main part, which is on speaking. Can you please scroll it to the culture section? No?
मैक्सिम नजर आता है कैसी बोर्डर लागू होना बता ना Dr. Abafita, you can continue now. Sorry for the technical errors.
Okay. Sorry for the technical problem. I think the host computer was stuck and he has to restart it. This is a problem of online conferences. I think it's solved now. Thank you for the technical team for your support to solve the problem. Okay, I would like to apologize the participant. Okay, değerli katılımcılar, bilgisayardan dolayı bir sıkıntı ortaya çıktı, şimdi çözüldü. Lelise, are you available, please? Okay, if Lelise is not available, I think her speech can be also transferred to tomorrow. And this session will be concluded here. The next session is it is moderated by Idris Yaba, and thank you for your attendance. And I would like also successful presentations for the presenters, and also I would like I wish a good program for all of the attendants, both online and on Zoom. Thank you. So Idris, you can continue for the next session. And maybe actually the interruption was like, you can consider it as a break. And I think we can continue to save our time. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? All right, I hope you can hear me therefore. Good morning and welcome to esteemed panelists as well as dear participants to this joint conference by Orda and ADAM. In this international virtual conference, the second session, we will have 4 panelists presenting their research findings. The first presenter will be Mr. Nagayo Mamo Jara. His paper is entitled Half a Millennium Old Historical Overview of Ethio-Turkish Relations, 1520 to 2020. So this is really timely and thematical topic that Mr. Nagayo will present. This young diplomat and scholar, I hope, will provide us with very interesting facts and historical details about Ethio-Turkish relations, because his master's thesis is also about this. And the second presenter will be Dr. Hussein Kedir. Dr. Hussein is one of the leading scholars and leaders in the academic and policy circles of education sector in Ethiopia. And he will present a paper entitled Leading Schools in a Changing Environment, Critical Review of Policies, Practices, and Challenge through Cross-Cultural Analysis. You cannot expect anyone more qualified than His Excellency Professor Hussein Kedir to present on this topic. So Orda and Adam are very honored to have a professor on this session. And then another timely and stimulating paper it will be presented by one of our own and rising star psychologist, Dr. Aman Sado. This paper is co-authored by Abdulatif Ismail and Osman Al-Fahim. It is entitled Smartphone Addiction and Curbing in International Students in Turkey, the Moderating Role of Mindfulness. So it's a very timely paper that will be presented by Dr. Aman. And then finally, a young economist and PhD candidate will present a paper titled Trade Openness and Foreign Direct Investment from Turkey. Does it matter for growth in African countries? This paper was also authored by 3 individuals, including the Ismael, Mohammed is the presenter, Professor Dr. Bulut, and Dr. Mustafa Gumlektis. So these 4 papers will be presented in this session. I hope this session will also be very interesting like the earlier one. And without further ado, I will first call upon Mr. Nagayo Mamo to present his paper before directly passing the mic to him to briefly introduce Mr. Nagayo. He is from Dodola, West RC. He has got both his bachelor and master's degree from Addis Ababa University, Department of Political Sciences. Then he has certificates, professional certificates from Ethiopia, Italy, and as well as Turkey in diplomacy. He's a diplomat in Middle East. Now he's chief counselor at Ethiopian Embassy at Doha. His dissertation is also related to the title of the paper that he is going to present. Therefore, without further ado, I will call on Mr. Nagayo to present the overview of Ethio-Turkish relations for 500 years. The mic is yours, Mr. Nagayo.
Thank you very much for our organizers of Orda and the keynote speakers who spoke before me, and also for brief introduction, moderator of our session, Mr. Idris. I would like to say thank you and welcome all audience who are online and also who are attending us virtually. So I think my paper is titled, as already mentioned, Half a Millennium Old Overview History of Ottoman Turkey Ethiopia Relations. As some of keynote speakers who spoke before me mentioned, Ethiopia and Turkey has a history of more than 500 years old history of bilateral relations, which have passed through ups and downs. So as you can see, from 1520 up to 2020, it is almost half a millennium. So that's why I have this title, Half a Millennium Old History. Before directly moving to the details of my study, I would like to say a few words on the significance of this title and theme. As you know, bilateral relation is one of most popular and interesting areas of study in international relations, also in the other related fields, particularly for research organizations such as Orda, which aims to further bridge the two countries in research and studies. The title and the theme remains ideal and very adequate. So it is with this objective that the history of Ottoman Turkey-Ethiopia relations is proposed and will be presented accordingly. Before moving to the next sections, I would like to bring your attention to these pictures. I think some of you may have seen or come across these pictures. The first one is Ahmed Ibrahim Al-Ghazi, or most commonly known as Ahmed Grany. The second picture on the right top is the first consulate of Turkey in Ethiopia, and he is apparently the first consulate general of Turkey. His name is Ahmed Manzar. The others is a recent picture, actually taken 3 years ago during bilateral visit. I mean, during a visit of Erdogan to Ethiopia in 2015, and the other one during President Mulatu's visit to Turkey. So saying this about this picture, let me go directly to the historical incidents that unfolded before the emergence of the first contact or interaction between Ethiopia and Turkey. As I have already tried to mention, bilateral relations between Ethiopia and Turkey has started at early 16th century. But before that, there are these historical incidents which happened before 16th century, and some of them actually in 16th century. So by end of 13th century, in around 1299, Ottoman Turkish Empire was conceived and established in present-day Turkey or Anatolia, central Turkey area. After few centuries, especially in 1415s, Ottoman Empire emerged as a global power by defeating the then existing global power, Eastern Byzantine Empire, and it says Constantinople, and which is later on renamed as Istanbul. So by 1517 or early 16th century, Ottoman expanded to most of Africa and Arabia. Particularly by 1517, it says Cairo, and then its sphere of influence has already reached much of the Northwest African region, the Red Sea, and the Indian Ocean region. Meantime, on the other hand, starting from the end of 15th century, particularly after the discovery of Indian trade route by famous explorer of Portuguese who came across the tip of Southern African, Good Hope. So he explored this Indian Ocean, and after that time there was exercise of trade activities by Portuguese Empire. So this emerged later on as one of the contending power for Ottoman Turkey. So when we come back to Ethiopia during the same time, or some centuries ago, before 16th century, there were two main rivalries in Ethiopia, especially from 13th to mid 16th century. This rivalry between the forces of Solomonic dynasty, who was emerged in 1270 by Yukna Amlak, and continued until 1636 before a break of some years. And also there is Muslim sultanates, particularly the dominant ones, Ifat from 1285 up to 1450, and Adal state from 1450 to 1559. So there was interplay of power struggle between these two states, and northern and southeastern states. So this has a significant impact on the latter's interactions of Ethiopia and Turkey during 16th century. By early 1520s, a powerful and ambitious leader known as Ahmed Ibrahim Al-Ghazi, or commonly known as Ahmed Grand, came to power representing the Adal state, and he emerged as a leader of Adal Sultanate. So he started war of revenge, because when I say war of revenge, before that there were so many wars between these two states, southeastern state, and so even, for example, his predecessor Mahfuz was killed by one of the leader of, the Solomonic dynasty in 1517 before he came to power. So he continued what has been going on before his assumption of power. So he started war of revenge against Solomonic dynasties, who were his main contenders. And the first major confrontation between the two forces took place in 1529. And this is one of famous battle in Ethiopian history. I think many of you have heard about this. So in that battle, for first time, these southeastern states or Adal state defeated the forces of Solomonic dynasty under Nugus Libne Dingle at Battle of Shumburakure. This is near present-day Bishoftu. So this is one of significant victory for the southern states, at least for after 3 or 4 centuries. So in general, the aforementioned regional and global factors had played a significant role in Ottoman Turkey's Ethiopia relations. So I will move on to the start of the first phase of Ottoman Turkey and Ethiopian relations. Before that, I have to say that the whole 500 years of Ottoman Turkey-Ethiopian relations can be divided in 4 phases, The first phase is from 5020s up to 5059. So this is a period of civil war between the two contending powers in Ethiopia on one hand, and between the global powers who came to Red Sea, Ottoman and Portuguese. So this is the first phase. The second phase will start from 1557 up to 1896. So the third will continue from 1896 up to 1974, and the last will be the contemporary phases, which has started after 1991. So to begin from the first phase, as I've already mentioned before, the Battle of Shumburakure, which was fought between forces of Ahmed and Lieutenant Dingle. Ahmed's predecessor Mahfouz was killed in 1517 by the support of Portuguese. So this is the first incident for emergencies of external power involvement in civil war. After this period, Ottomans were also in the Red Sea region, so they supported the forces of Adal in 1529. During that time, the force of Adal made skillful use of firearms introduced by the Turks and employed a small body of Turkish troops even during this time. So this is the first, it can be considered as one of the first incidents that attracted the involvement of Ottoman in a civil war, which was going on for centuries before 16th century. So from 1529 up to 1540, the forces of Ahmed Ibrahim were able to push the forces of Solomonic dynasty to the north as far as Lake Tana and the Najashi Mosque, which is found present.
Mr. Nagayo, sorry to intervene. Your time is wrapping up fast. So please try to wrap up in 2 or maximum 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. So let me proceed to other incidents. So this actually, I was expecting more time. So okay, I will try to make it brief. So let me move to the second phase. Galados was actually killed in 1559 by successor of Ahmed Gurain. Then after the Ottoman started to stay at Massawa. So this is from 1557 up to 1885. The Ottomans under Ozdemir Pasha stayed in Massawa, and they renamed it as Iyalet Habeshi, or the province of Habasha. From this, they ruled for next 2 or 3 centuries. So there were major outcomes of this phase. Internally, it led for the balance of power between southern and northern states. Externally, it reduced the European influence in the country. And also there were commercial relations between the 2 states. The third phase started in 1896. This is considered as modern diplomatic relations between Ethiopia and Turkey. And in 1912, the first Ottoman Turkish Consulate General was opened in Harar, and Ahmed Manzar was appointed as the first Ottoman envoy to Ethiopia. And from 1930 to 1960, Lijiyasu, who took office, have established good and cordial relations with Turkey, and he has tried to enter the First World War in side of Ottoman. But unfortunately, before he started or involved in the war, he was deposed by the Shuan nobilities. So this is one of the leader who tried to establish good relations with Turkey. After that, in 1923, the modern Turkish was established. Later on, after 3 years, the first Turkish embassy in Sub-Sahara was established in Ethiopia. Few years later, Turkey was one of the few countries who participated on coronation of Emperor Haile Selassie. In 1933, Ethiopia opened its embassy in Ankara. During Italian occupation from 1935 to 1941, their bilateral relations was deteriorated because of Turkey's recognition of Italy. After that, Emperor Haile Selassie visited Turkey, for example, twice in 1967 and 1971. This shows the restoration of the relations. During Derg regime, there was no relation actually between Ethiopia and Turkey due to ideological differences. And in 1984, Ethiopian embassy was closed by Derg. So there are 3 impacts during this phase. One is institutionalization of diplomatic relations, and also modernization of bilateral relations, and domestic power restructure, especially during Iyasu. So the contemporary period, which started after 1991, after downfall of Derg and end of Cold War, during this relations has restored and revived for good. So economic cooperation was one of the guiding principles of current bilateral relations. Actually, it started after end of the last century of 19th century, especially after Turkey's Africa Plan of Action. And the coming to power of the present party, Justice and Development Party in 2002, the relations was revived and revitalized. And currently Ethiopia, Turkey is one of strategic partner for Ethiopia. And the Ethiopian foreign policy mentions Turkey as one of its partner in this regard. So several agreements have been signed. So Ethiopian embassy was opened in or reopened in 2006. Cooperation was further boosted in 2005. At this Istanbul force and the back, Ethiopian Airlines.
You can sum up with 2 or 3 sentences if you have to say the last word.
All right. So, for example, in political, there was a frequent visits of officials between Ethiopia and Turkey. So this shows the relations is very strong and cordial. And in economic aspect, the bilateral relation stands on trade, investment, and development assistance. So for future, there are areas of cooperation, particularly politically and military cooperation in regional and global pattern. And economically, as mentioned, in tourism and culture, there is a wide area of cooperation, and it's expected to move forward. Thank you for
thank you very much, Mr. Nagayo Mamo, for that very good presentation. Even if you couldn't finish within the time, that was very good. Now, next will be Professor Hussein Kedir. Actually, to enumerate his qualifications and achievement in this time is impossible. Just to mention a few, he has master's degrees in educational administration from Addis Ababa University, and another master's degree in educational planning and management from International Institute for Educational Planning, UNESCO, Paris. And then he has a PhD in educational policy and leadership from Addis Ababa University. Before coming to Addis Ababa University as a professor, he has served at various levels of Oromia Education Bureau. He also served at Save the Children USA. He was national coordinator for UNESCO's education sector planning in Ethiopia. He served as a lead researcher and lead consultant for Ministry of Education, as well as other international development partners. He has been the Dean of the College of Education and Behavioral Sciences at Addis Ababa University, as well as Head of the Department of Educational Planning and Management. He also has served as visiting professor at Niagara University in New York. So he has lots of international, national leadership experiences in both academic and policy circles. So without further ado, I will welcome this leading scholar of Ethiopia to present his paper on leadership in the schools. So without further ado, I will call upon Professor Hussein to present his paper. You have 10 minutes, sir.
Thanks so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, as you can see, the topic of mine, first of all, thank you very much for giving me this chance. And the topic of my interest is leading schools in a changing environment, a critical review of policies, practices, and challenges through cross-cultural analysis. As introduction, nearly worldwide, educational leadership on the whole, and school leadership in particular, are getting high priority agenda of policy debates for sustainable development worldwide. And educational changes have become a dominating feature of endeavors amid the swiftly changing environment, perhaps signaling, you see, the importance of transformational leaders everywhere. And these new concerns, however, are really swelling from time to time, and the actual practice have remained a dream quite a number of countries, for that matter, remaining as a challenge. Why? The question is, now there are some new concerns worldwide. For instance, the swift changes in science and technology, changing policies and strategies, perhaps addressing global, regional, national, and local contexts. The claims for democracy, good governance, economic growth, and economic development. Demography, there's a serious problem, population, in terms of growth rate and age spectrum. The size of organizations are getting bigger and bigger, complex, including schools. And the income distribution challenges, for instance, addressing and redressing inequalities between the rich and the poor, and the changing behavior of customers, particularly teachers, school principals, students, parents, what have you. Scarcity of resources, high turnover of officials, capacity of teachers, and motivation of students even to learn everywhere is under question. This is more aggravated by competition, globalization, and cross-border education. Perhaps this challenge again were really described as issues and the complexities contextualizing this century. For instance, in this century, you see, we claim for economic growth. Economic growth becomes rapid, but inequalities are widening. We do claim that wealth is increasing, but poverty is persistent. The gains in health have been amazing, but figures foreshadow high disease and death rate everywhere. Also, innovation have been increased faster than ever. The benefit of technology is skewed, for instance, rural areas of Africa. Knowledge and control over nature have been increasing, but the human intervention has so far profound, unintended and potentially life-threatening effects on the environment is there. For instance, free education has become a human right worldwide. Nevertheless, millions remain illiterate, never go to school. The danger of inequalities, perhaps identifying, perhaps if it is there, useful and useful education, absence of accountability and academic corruption, whether education is creating equity, equality, inequality is again serious challenge. With this, you see, worldwide, there are reforms pushed by giant institutions like World Bank and IMF. These reforms include competitive-driven kind, finance-driven, equity-driven, and so on. And developing nations are really suffering from policy borrowing in this regard, including countries like Ethiopia. Whatever the case, there are attempts to improve schools in, for instance, in three forms. The 3 R's is a renewing, reforming, restructuring the schools to manage change, or as incremental, fundamental, or adaptive challenges, if you like. Incremental is bit by bit, minor adjustments, while fundamental is deep change, dramatic departure from the past, including schools and institutions everywhere. That is a serious challenge. It's about transformation. It's about changing culture. It's about changing institutional perhaps performing pattern, doing things in new ways. The third one is adaptive challenge. Perhaps the new environment, for instance, is challenging. We can take issues like COVID-19 now. Schools are suffering from this. These are often systematic problems with no ready answer. So the world is suffering from this. Now, this requires leadership, obviously. So without high quality, skilled, and visionary leadership, it's very difficult to achieve these things, or transformation, if you like. So change requires strong leaders for that matter. But it's not in a smiling climate all the time. There is resistance. Hard to transform really accepted practices, if you like, norms and patterns for that matter. So despite the economic and political changes, fundamental cultural norms have been proven resistance to change for that matter. Basically, I'm referring to institutional change, cultural change, and attitudinal shifts. So now what is the implication? Is my interest. Overall, the dearth of context-based policies and transformational leadership are all wanting worldwide, not about Ethiopia alone. Therefore, rethinking context-based policies initiatives primed for transformation, and creating mutual collaboration, like what you have been talking, guys, through cross-cultural analysis based on mutual benefit, and developing competent transformation leaders who can turn around their own context and thereby and redress universal trends in terms of globalization, technology, networking, if you like, affiliations and partnership, market competition, the provision of quality education for citizens could be among the major interventions I'm suggesting for change. So in spite of all the differences over there, the issues of student achievement and the question of quality education is everywhere in the world, but the degree differ. For instance, it's a serious challenge for a number of African countries, including Ethiopia. In spite of improving expansion, providing access to students, there are serious challenges in terms of providing quality education for citizens. I personally, as a person of this profession, I always claim what type of education, what level of education, for whom. And I believe that if you want to change our nations, we must change our school. To change schools, we must change the capacity of teachers, school principals, and educational leaders. I personally believe that education is a training ground for all other sectors, including for, I don't know, engineering, what have you. So this is the base. If we want to change a nation, it's important to change education. So I'm repeatedly saying education, education, education, education. These are some of the terms I learned when I travel usually. Thank you. Merci. Gracias. Shukran. Asante sana. The Turkish one, please help me. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. That's what I can say at this stage.
Professor, çok teşekkür ediyoruz. That is what Turkish say. Asante sana. So that is very interesting and stimulating presentation within time. Within time, that's excellent, sir. Thank you very much. For dear participants and the audience, please write down your questions that you have for Mr. Nagayo, for Professor Kedir, and for the upcoming presenters, so that at the end of the session, we will have discussion, questions, and comments time. Therefore, please write down your questions so that you don't forget. The next presenter will be our own, Orda's former director and current vice chair, Dr. Aman Sado. Dr. Aman Sado is currently assistant professor of psychological counseling and guidance at Istanbul University. Actually, I have got his bio very brief. I and Aman used to teach at the same university. He even taught me postgraduate diploma in teaching, one of the best teachers you can ever imagine to have. Therefore, he has got a PhD from Anadolu University. He's a psychologist, young rising star psychologist who have published in peer-reviewed journals, and as well as researching on the cutting edge of the current issues, including the impact of COVID on international students in Turkey. Today, he will present for us a paper he co-authored with his colleagues, Abdul Latif and I lost the name of the other.
Osman.
So forgive me, please, whoever the scholar is.
Osman.
So whatever the case, Dr. Aman, who is studying the efficacy of psychological adjustment and social anxiety management in the young adult population today, will present for us his paper. Without further ado, I will invite Dr. Aman to present this paper. Welcome, sir. The mic is yours.
Thank you, Chris. Can you see my slides? Is it shared now?
It's coming. Yes. You have 10 minutes.
Okay, all right. Okay. Okay. Well, the topic, I don't want to waste my time. Maybe just 10 minutes. I have to say few things related to the study. This was entitled Smartphone Addiction, Having International Students in Turkey. So just to see whether mindfulness can have an impact in changing the connection between smartphone addiction and pubbing. So the topics I will be trying to cover includes the problem, hypothesis, method, and results, and finally discussion. Well, the issue of a smartphone, the issue of technology, the advancement of technology is a reality these days. We all use smartphones at home, at school, everywhere. But with the advancement of these technological devices, there are also problems. There are changes in how people use these devices. So problems related to the behaviors, including pubbing, which is one of the variables of this study, is uncovered by researchers. Pubbing is just to mean ignoring someone who is in interaction with you in favor of your telephone. As you can see in the pictures, the people are sitting side by side, but they are not in any of the interaction. So the mobile, the smartphones they use have already brought changes in how people interact in their daily lives. So this issue is a serious issue to the international students who are supposed to travel abroad to seek education. And it's special to international students because as you travel to new cultural context, including Turkey, you are supposed to learn cross-cultural skills so that you can establish cross-cultural relations, and maybe you serve as a bridge between countries. Maybe you make a friend abroad, and then maybe you can have you can create huge opportunities for diverse relations, as Orda is one of the examples. Well, to come to the context of Turkey, Turkey is among the top 10 popular destination countries for international students, with over 200,000 international students in the year 2020. Well, this means that as you have this huge number of international students, and then there is diversity, and this diversity is an opportunity for individuals to explore, to make use of, and then advance their skills and then their future as well. But the issue is, the problem is, as there is diversity, and then there will also be diverse needs coming together. So these needs include maybe cultural challenges, maybe psychological challenges, being unable to adapt to new culture, maybe to the Turkish culture, to the academic context, etc. But the important thing is, this is not without the presence of technologies. So as these individuals travel to new cultural contexts, they do have supports of these technologies, maybe smartphones and technological devices. If they are properly used, and they are more likely to facilitate transition to new culture. But if people get missed in the uses of technologies, mentioning that there are 4.88 billion people using smartphones globally, which is accounting around 63% of the world total population, and then young population, which constitute majority of the international students, is among the popular users of these devices. So, given that these individuals travel to new contexts whereby they are more likely to experience psychological challenges like acculturation stresses, maybe together with some personality characteristics, just to mention, for instance, openness to new culture. If they are not open to new culture, they are less likely to encourage interaction with the host national students, with the Turkish students. Maybe they escape from interaction to making use of devices in the time they have, given that they may sometimes experience stresses related to academy, stresses related to how to cope with new culture. Well, this is how the users of smartphones might pave its way towards addiction, all right? And then if the smartphones are not properly, mindfully, if we don't mindfully use them, we are more likely to discourage the interaction. We are more likely to lose helpful interaction that we might have developed with the Turkish students, with other national students, all right? That's how the phubbing comes in. And literature tells us that there is direct relationship between smartphone addiction and phubbing. As you tend to use a smartphone, you are more likely to phub others. You are more likely to discourage, you are more likely to ignore people who are in the interaction. And then how can we change this? We plan to see whether being attentive to your situation, being awareness to where you are and how you are in that relationship can change and make a change between the smartphone addiction and phubbing. So that is why we introduced mindfulness to see whether people who might be still using smartphones might tend to get less into the phubbing behavior. So that is what the model tries to test. So the hypothesis we have in here are...
You are left with the 3 minutes, sir.
All right. So the hypothesis is mainly to see the role of mindfulness in changing the connection between smartphone addiction and phubbing. The participants are largely from Africa and Asia, and that is what I wanted to tell in here. Maybe the analysis is the process macro, which was used to see the moderating effects of mindfulness. And results tell us that, yes, there is direct relationship between smartphone addiction and phubbing. And yes, the mindfulness moderates the interaction. But the unexpected part is mindfulness didn't help in reducing the tendencies of engaging in phubbing behaviors. As you can see in the figure, there is no significant change in changing the direction of phubbing, which is to mean that having high mindfulness doesn't result in reduced tendencies of engaging in phubbing behaviors. So why is this happening? Maybe the possible justification is people are really excessively using this smartphone addiction, and this has become normal. So it is taken normal. Tending to use a smartphone while you are in interaction, while you are in class, is taken normal, and then no one is noticing. The second one is maybe international students tend to escape to the uses of smartphones as a strategy to address some of the psychological issues they might have. And the third one is we might have forgotten what the present moment means, as we are, as youngsters are people of this people of the digital age. So they are used to the usage of smartphones, and then they may not be able to really find meaning in how they have to have an interaction in the absence of smartphones. The implication is there has to be diverse opportunities for students, maybe for individuals, to try to socialize beside making use of smartphone. They may, institutions, maybe universities and associations might encourage students to have interaction phone in the absence of smartphones, maybe sportive activities, seminars, and skill-related, social skill-related trainings might help in the process. And finally, what I would like to say is future researchers might have maybe encouraged to see whether the role of mindfulness stays the same or whether mindfulness can really make a change in the interaction between smartphone addiction and mindfulness. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aman. You effectively and efficiently used your time. As I said earlier, please present the audience, write down your questions so that you will not forget it. The last but not the least is a paper to be presented by Ismael Mohammed Nasir. This paper entitled Trade Openness and Foreign Direct Investment from Turkey, Does It Matter for Growth in African Countries? It was co-authored with Professor Dr. Bulut and Dr. Mustafa Komleksis. So Mr. Ismael is from Jimma University, is a member of the Department of Economics. Currently is a PhD candidate in economics at Najmuddin Erbakan University. He was graduated from Jimma University, both bachelor and master's university, and he also served at different administrative positions and served in different steering committees. He is one of the young rising economists and PhD candidate. Without further ado, I will call upon Mr. Ismael to present the paper.
Okay, thank you very much, the person, for your compliment and wonderful introduction. First of all, I would like to thank the Orda for organizing this wonderful conference. Also, for your ear after my presentation. I'm happy. When I go to my topic of interest, my topic is, as it is expressed, openness and from Turkey. That is matter for those African countries.
I think your microphone has got some problem. It's not that much audible.
Okay. Hello. Hello.
Okay, come on.
Okay. When I go to my presentation, the content of my presentation is first introduction. Also, the technical problems will be discussed. Also, the study, the second methodology, finally, the empirical finding results will be discussed in the conclusion. When I go to the introduction part, as you know, because of the aspect of
do you have earphone or something? I think, if I'm not mistaken, it has got some problem.
Hello?
Okay, let you try.
Hello?
Come on.
You hear me? Also, the effect of foreign growth in the global economy. Thus, it knows that Ethiopia enables the capital formation in the host country through financial resources for developing countries. Also, Ethiopia is relevant for integrating to global supply chains. Ethiopia is relevant for emergence of new technology, foreign knowledge spillover, and the economies of scale for developing and developed countries. Also, increasing competitiveness resulting from expansion international trade will be gained from this PDI. The another topic is openness Openness to trade is also another influencing factor of economic growth in economic theory. Trade openness can be promote growth by increasing efficiency and resource allocation, improving productivity through diffusion of technology and the knowledge observation. Also, the positive impact of openness can also arise from channels such as utilization of competitive advantage, increasing economies of scale, and the exposure to competition. Moreover, it argues that the interaction between trade openness and the FDI can also enhance or promote growth in certain scenarios. Whereas the increasing volume of trade, especially in the importing capital goods, is superior and with superior technology affected by high FDI inflow and the export revenue. Also here, I try to highlight some overview on the current state of FDI in the international trade in Africa. As for different reports, particularly unique that were the investment report, African FDI inflow is like 36,703 billion in 2006. That's increased by 4.9 billion, amounted to 41.7 in 2017. Besides, Africa received a considerable amount of FDI from Turkey in particular over the last decade. Thus, the Turkish economic and the political advance in the sub-Saharan Africa is also increasing or keeping growing. For instance, in the Kenya, Sudan obtained a spot on outbound investment index become more attractive to Turkish investors in 2008. The other is specifically when we come to Ethiopia. Ethiopia is the biggest investment destination of Turkey in Africa. Nearly half of the continent investment, for example, for here, Turkish investment in Africa is around 6 billion foreign direct investment there in Africa from Turkey. Among these, Ethiopia attracted about 2.5%. That is about 14% of the investment. The other is international trade in Africa countries is also following a negative trend in recent years because of some reasons. The various studies examined also the relationship between FDI and the trade openness and the economic growth in Africa. It can be argued that the findings are obtained from this study offer a mixed result. Some results are negative, some are positive. When I go to my statement of problem, because of global stagnation in the FDI inflows and the negative reflection on growth, rates have been long-run policy concerns both developing and transition economies in recent years. In recent years, the Turkish FDI in Africa is increasing, as I said before. More companies are interested in doing business in different African countries, particularly also in Ethiopia. This dramatic increase suggests the question of whether the inflow of the FDI affects economic growth in Africa. Thus, most of the previous studies in Africa made little or almost no attention for country-specific FDI inflow on economic growth in two host countries. So my objective is aim to analyze FDI inflow from Turkey and the trade openness affects economic growth in selected African countries. More specifically, analyze impact of FDI inflow from Turkey on economic growth in African countries. Analyze, so the second objective is analyze the effects of trade openness on economic growth of African countries. Finally, to examine the effects of other determinants of economic growth on economic growth of African countries. When I go to the data and the methodology, for this study, a lot of data sets are used in analysis used for panel of 8 African countries, which is Algeria. Here it is shown as shown in the map. Algeria, Egypt, Ethiopia, Libya, Morocco, Senegal, South Africa, and Tunisia within the period of 2015 to 2017. Here, when we select the country of a study, we take into account the availability of the data and also the volume of foreign direct investment in Turkey in this country. Also, when we select the study period, also we take into account the availability of data and the volume of foreign direct investment. Also, GDP in real terms and the indicator of for economic growth is a dependent variable for our economic model. The main explanatory variables for the model are like FDI from Turkey and openness rates are the main explanatory variable. Or the other is, moreover, in order to improve predictivity power of the model, total net FDI flows excluding Turkey, population variable, which are other determinants of economic rows included in the model as a control variable. All the economic variables are used in dollar, take into account also a natural logarithm in the model before estimation. Economic estimation used are like reduce and like Gauss 10. Logarithmic transformation of the series with negative and the zero values are conducted by this formula, learn this formula. When I go to the data and methodology, the other part, here is our variable definition and the source of variables. As I said before, our variables are real GDP, foreign direct investment from Turkey, other FDI flows, trade openness in the population. Here is the abbreviation and the definition of these variables. Here is the source of data, World Bank, Central Bank, and the Republic of Turkey, and the other sources are there. Also, we use there are various definitions regarding openness.
You have 3 minutes. Ismail.
Okay. When I go to the final methodology part, we use the panel ARDL, autoregressive distribution lag model, suggested by Perslan and the full mean group estimation and mean group estimation in order to examine long-run relationship. Here is also our model for this study. Also, we use different choice between alternative estimators. In the long run, homogeneity of PMG is effective estimator gives, and the PMG and the MG are consistent for this. Our panel RDL form of our model is here expressed here. Also, here is another error correlation form for panel RDL model in equation 3. Optimal length is determined by Akasi information criteria. Also, before estimation, first conduct preliminary test for cross-section dependence in homogeneity. We use this Bruce-Pagan and the Perslan and the other methods. When I go to empirical findings, based on our estimation, the paper investigates the stationarity of variables by well-known Perslan and the 3 tests of initial tests are allowed for this. The test results reveal that all the series have unit root level, while the first difference of them are stationary, as it is shown in this table. Thus, it concludes that all the variables are integrated by first order. Also, panel tests are shown in the long-run relationship in the model. Here is also our empirical findings for panel unit root test results. P-values are in parentheses. And finally, we investigate co-integration by Pedron and also suggest 7 tests of co-integration in the well panel data. Also, other panel co-integration test results are reported in table 4, in table 4 below. Considering panel data set relatively small group of RHO statistics of Pedron, test seems to be more preferable for interpreting. Empirical findings of results of panel mean group and the mean group estimation are also here. Finally, in this respect, land of foreign direct investment from Turkey, land of openness, and the land of population have a positive impact on economic growth in African countries. However, it is seen that coefficient of land of foreign direct investment out of Turkey is negative in considered periods. In addition, the sign of error correction model explains whether there is stable converging long-run relationship between economic variable and the monetary variable is negative but significant. Also, our other result is also here in short-run country-specific panel mean group estimation. Here, as it is shown in this table, land for foreign direct investment for Ethiopia, for Libya, for Senegal, and for South Africa is a positive. But for these 3 countries, Libya, Morocco, Senegal, and South Africa, is significant. It is less than 0.5, less than or equal to 0.05. For Ethiopia, it is positive but not significant. When you go to land for FDI for other countries, as it is shown, is positive for this country, Senegal, South Africa, Tunisia, and also for Libya. But it is significant only for these countries, for Libya, Morocco, and these countries. Land for openness is also shown here as significant for some of the countries. Also, besides short-run coefficients of land for population are positive and significant for Algeria, Libya, Morocco, while coefficients for Egypt, Senegal, Tunisia, significantly negative. Here is also our equation for vector correlation model. Here is also a result of panel Granger causality result. The result of panel vector correlation causality test in the above table shows that there is unidirectional causality relationship running from land of population to economic growth in short run. Also, it is seen that land of foreign direct investment is the grander cause of land of foreign direct investment in the short run. This result is interpreted in the attracting effect of total FDI flows in Africa in the on foreign direct investment. Finally, when I go to the concluding remarks, the result of the final mean group estimation and the FDI flow from Turkey have positive impact on economic growth of Africa in the long run. The result also indicates that trade openness and another long run determinant of economic growth in Africa. Result corresponds to the various previous studies and the economic theories. However, FDI flow, excluding Turkey, on economic growth is significantly negative in the considered period. Also, as it says in different stated by different authors, the last result can be attributed to the insufficient level of human capital, productivity gap, lack of infrastructure, and the low level of trade in most African countries. Also, finally, it's also concluded that still there have some limitation in attracting effective FDI in order to achieve sustainable growth trend in Africa. The better error correction that ran the causal case analysis shows that there is unidirectional causal relationship running from trade openness to economic growth. The result has also have important policy implications for long-run growth efforts in African countries. Openness to trade and the economic growth also in terms of increasing efficiency, resource allocation, rising competitiveness, and improving productivity, foreign technology and knowledge, and the utilization of competitive advantage and the scale of economy is also expected. Lastly, result of analysis indicates FDI net inflows during Turkey is the grander cause of FDI from Turkey in the short run. The result can be interpreted as the attracting effect of total FDI from flows in Africa countries on the Turkish FDI. Thank you very much for your listening. If you have any questions, feedback, and suggestions, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ismail. With technical problem at the beginning, now it was really good. So we finished the presentation part of our session. Now we will pass to the part of questions, comments, suggestions, and discussions. You can address to all of the presenters your questions. To Mr. Mamo Nagayo on half a millennium-old historical overview of Ethio-Turkish relations, to Dr. Hussein Kedir on leading scholars and leaders in the academic and policy circles of education. Leading schools in a changing environment, critical review of policies, practices, challenges through cross-cultural analysis. And then for Dr. Aman on smartphone addiction and for being an international student in Turkey, the moderating role of mindfulness. And finally, trade openness and FDI from Turkey, does it matter for those in African countries? To Ismail Mohammed. So I directly open the microphones for the people who want to ask the questions. Please address the panelist who is going to react to your question or comments when you ask.
Okay, Junaidi, question.
All right, Dr. Junaidi, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. First and foremost, I would like to extend my greetings to all attendants and thanks to the presenters. To be fair, I will ask a single question for all presenters. Is my sound clear?
Yes.
Okay. So the first question to Mr. Nagayo is how we can change the good Ethio-Turkish diplomatic relation to the mutual fruitful economy or economic success. What do you recommend? Is my question. I think the presenters are taking their notes of my question. That's my second question to Professor Hussein is, the fall of or loss of students' motivation is prevailing all over the world, and it is very burning issue. What is the reason behind this? Why the students' motivation fails, and what are the way outs as scholar of leadership and education? What do you suggest is my question. The third question is to Aman and his team. How do we regain the attention of the lose of the attention to the smart people, which is lost due to the smartphone? What do you suggest is my question. The last question to Ismael and his team is, what are the key issues that Ethiopia can learn from Turkish trade system to be successful? What lessons we can learn from Turkish trade system? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Junaidi. The other participants, you can ask questions. You can raise hand or poke. Anyone else? Okay, if there is, I have also questioned until other members of the audience, if there's questions to ask. The question, I address this question to mainly Mr. Nagayo and secondarily to Mr. Ismael with regards to Turkish direct investment in Ethiopia. As Mr. Ismail, I said half of Turkish direct investment in Africa goes to Ethiopia. However, recently, Ethiopian Development Bank has been regaining those Turkish investments in the name of the collateral, and they are moving out. And it is said to be unsustainable. What do you think are the causes behind that one? And secondly, what are your reflections and explanations with regards to Ethio-Turkish relations in terms of investment in the future? Any other question? You can text it as well. And I am not following it on the Facebook. You can also provide that forward to the Zoom setting. Okay, Mr. Tasfai, welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, the organizer as well as moderator. I want to ask the last presenter, Ismail and his co-workers. Then you tried best in passing through statistical steps, but I want to ask the issue related to the variables you incorporated in the model. You tried to incorporate 3 or 4 variables as explanatory variables in your model. Do you think this is enough and has its own theoretical background to be confined to analyze these variables? Is one question. Another is the way you selected countries has no common variable. For instance, Algeria and Ethiopia, they are not sub-Saharan Africa, they are not in the same income level. What is your base to select such country? Because your result will not bias. What can you say on this? And thank you. I have asked to Professor Hussein Kedir in text. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you very much, Mr. Asfai. Also, I have got a question for Dr. Hussein. The question is, if you suggest practical solution to quality education, what are the priority actions you are suggesting? For Mr. Ismael, what are possible reasons for plan FDI tend to be negative? From this finding, what is your advice to the government? Those are the questions that I have got in text. Any other? Somebody else who have got a question? Okay, first let us entertain the ones that have been raised, and then meanwhile, if other participants have questions, we will accept them and go forward. So first, I invite Mr. Nagayo to react on the question addressed to him, in order then to Professor Hussein. First, Nagayo.
Okay, thank you. I think the first question is, it says, how can we change the good Ethio-Turkish relations? How can we transform this to economic success? If I'm not mistaken, this is asked by Dr. Junaidi. So first, I would like to thank for your question and comment. So as I have tried to mention, these two countries have a rich history of bilateral relations, which started from 16th century up to 2020. So their success in political and social relations has ramifications also for economic success, and particularly after 1991. The most significant part of the relations is based on the economic partnership, particularly trade, investment, and development assistance. They are trying to push further in new areas of cooperation, particularly at regional and multilateral levels. For example, Ethiopia has been benefiting from the FDI inflow of Turkish, because this has significance in terms of job creation, in terms of capital for indirect inflow to country, which has a high shortage of foreign currency, and also it shares technologies and skills, because Ethiopia is a dominantly agricultural country, which is sharing the success in the economic performance of Turkey, which has good economic performance, particularly after 2002. So the bilateral relation is benefiting the two countries, but there are some challenges actually which needs to be resolved in order to bring a full-fledged success or profit from the bilateral relations. So there is different institutional, there are different institutional platforms through which the countries evaluate the success and the failure of their bilateral relations, particularly in economy. There is what we call, for example, joint economic and technical cooperation. There is also bilateral business consultation between the two countries, and they are already benefiting from the bilateral relations. And for example, Ethiopia is earning in export because particularly it's exported sesame to Turkey, which is a main user in manufacturing. So there is a huge benefit in terms of trade. Even though there is a deficit in Ethiopian side, they have been benefiting by increasing the import earning from time to time. So this has a lot to do with economic performance also in Ethiopia. So I think they are already doing this, but there are new potential areas. For example, in tourism, Turkey has a huge potential. Also in hydro, in hydro diplomacy, because Turkey is one of upper riparian countries, so it can share its experience to Ethiopia. So this is the question, I think, and I have tried to address it, but I didn't hear if Mr. Idris has asked me directly the question or to the other panelists. I couldn't.
FDI is not directly to you. Mr. Ismael can more focus on that one. Thank you very much, Mr. Nagayo.
Thank you.
Really good to have you here. Then I will pass to Professor Hussein. You can respond to the questions.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you so much. And I've received very interesting questions. Some of them are very challenging. Tesfaye texted me asking the role of culture on policies. For instance, new ideology of economists for sustainable development. In this critical review, I found that culture is a determining factor for or an element that resists change. As far as I'm concerned, change is about transformation. And that transformation demands everywhere institutional transformation, cultural transformation, and attitudinal transformation. People can work on knowledge, can work on skills to change, but the most difficult aspect of it is, for instance, attitudinal changes in countries like Ethiopia, established culture. So it's very important to turn around those kind of things in order to accept transformation. Otherwise, people would like to stay in their comfort zone, and they tend to challenge, resist efforts toward this improvement or change, what have you. For sustainable development, I believe that education is a key. And all the claims, for instance, for human capital, for human development, for economic growth, economic development, they all depend on the quality of education. So providing quality education for citizens is critical. Sometimes you borrow policies from abroad, then you're stuck. So one of the problems in countries like Ethiopia, in our schools, is it's very, very difficult to transform the existing culture. I was referring to that. So it has direct link with that of policies and reform initiatives under attempt. And sustainable development, one aspect of the sustainable development is providing quality education for citizens. That's challenging. Concerning the second question, perhaps from Mr. Junaidi, student motivation. It's really very difficult to explain this. These days, in some of African countries, particularly in Ethiopia, teachers lack capacity. That's a very, very serious problem. And at the same time, students lack motivation to learn. Why? A number of reasons. I can't jot down all these reasons. For instance, immediate economic return, absence of models, and perhaps the quality of education that we are providing may not in a position to attract students so that they can benefit from education. So making schools attractive, addressing policies, and considering the return of education, or returns of education, is a serious agenda these days. It's not only for Ethiopia. For instance, in the UK, people start to think about if entrepreneurship is direct kind of investment or return, why investment on this huge, on education is a kind of question that they start to raise. But I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to why students fail to motivate. For instance, in Ethiopia, students, they would like to go abroad and work there instead of going through the hardship of education. For instance, why girls, for instance, 17, 16 years, 14 years girls would like to go to Arab countries? That's a serious question. Maybe it requires additional research. It demands more investigation about it. But as far as my research has been concerned, definitely there is a lack of capacity from the side of teachers and interest, lack of motivation from the side of students. This does not mean a kind of generalization, please take care. In some countries, the interest is there okay, things are better, but in general terms, in a number of African countries, even in developed nations, people start to question about the quality of education. We all claim about, you see, student achievement. If you go to the US, if you go to everywhere, they tend to question student achievement in spite of investments on school improvement, restructuring, what have you. People tend to question the quality of education. That is what I can say at this stage. And the third question is bad quality. And this is again, very complex question. What do you suggest? I do suggest in countries like Ethiopia, improve the how of preparing teachers, improve the how of preparing educational leaders, improve investment on education, put education as a priority agenda, number one. In fact, I'm biased, sorry for that, because I'm from the field. So for me, I think people are there. Education should be number one, because I believe that it is a training ground for all other sectors. I mean, it's the base of agriculture, it's the base of industry, it's base for education, health, what have you. Unless you invest on primary and secondary education to produce future citizens, then that's going to be a challenge. That's my point, and we need to turn around the way we think, invest on education, and inspire our students to learn. These are some of the issues that can I say from my research, and I can't go to the details, but still I do claim that education is the key. I think Ambassador is hearing me. Education is a key if we want to transform our nation. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. Dr. Aman?
Yes, all right. Well, the question, there was a question from Junaidi. Thank you for the question. It was about how can we regain the attention of people, and how can we minimize tendencies of overusing smartphones in every experiences of our life. So it is all about how we can increase self-control, and how can we be able to use our smartphones given that we are not far away from our purposes. So psychology says, well, whenever you are doing something, or if there is a increased tendencies of usage of smartphones, there are some needs, there are some psychological needs you are trying to meet through tending to use your smartphones. So the first thing we need to do is we need to identify what are the psychological needs these people are having. So having a genuine connection, genuine interaction is one of the means. And maybe the second point is, as we tend to use smartphones, maybe you have paid attention to it. We are less likely becoming empathetic. I mean, we are the ability to understand others is going down. The empathic skills, we are about to lose our empathic skills. Having genuine connection with the people we are in interaction is going down. So what we have to suggest in these cases is maybe being able to diversify socializing activities, maybe entertainment activities, so that people who might tend to prefer usage of smartphone might get their needs addressed in some other activities. Maybe that is one option. And the important aspect underlined related to smartphone addiction is enhancing self-control. Okay, once you are able to control how and when to use your smartphones, you are more likely to stop it and then focus again back to your life purpose. Maybe if you are a student and you know that smartphone is only a means, it's not an end by itself. So you don't spend your whole time using smartphones. Rather, smartphones would be used as a device, as a mechanism to reach your life purposes, maybe academy or businesses, whatever. So this time, as we enhance our self-control abilities, it means that we are able to stop and we are mindful of when and how to use, to what extent to use, how much time we have to spend on smartphones. And the last thing I would say is having quality time, non-smartphone, having a time free of smartphones, maybe at home with your friends, putting off your phone and then enjoying your meal, enjoying your interaction. And this could maybe enhance the value of interaction without smartphones. That is what I could say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Aman. I think that message goes to everyone, every participant here. Finally, I will call on Mr. Ismael to address some of the questions that is addressed to you. Sir Ismael.
Thank you very much. For all right questions. I think some questions for my teacher research, and also I'm going to publish this research after getting a lot of comments from not in progress. I think the first question is what research, what do you learn from Turkish trade system or trade system? For that question, I personally believe that
it is not clear. I am expecting it to become clearer sometime, but it's not clear still.
Which one?
Your sound. Okay, go ahead. It may become clearer like before as you speak.
The question is for all of us, as is raised by the first presenter. I also share the same view for that question. For the other questions of FPDI, as it is known for the second question, what key to prepare to learn from Turkish trade and investment. As it is known as the main aim of FPDI is not only on foreign, like foreign job creation from foreign investment, and also from gaining from foreign currency from exports and by export formation or by import substitution. But the main thing is, I personally believe that a lot of work has to be done on technology transfer. Personally, when I see foreign direct investment, it is already reported by their volume. So volume of investment is not taken into account about the technology transfer and the knowledge transfer from that investment. So we have to take into account that. Also, most evaluation work have to be done, not only for reporting. The other is, as I said, human capital development. Also, we have to work on human capital development by bilateral relationship. We have to benefit a lot from Turkey in different areas, especially in knowledge and skill development for that industry, for which is used for that for investment companies. The other is also institutional development is the main issue. Institutional development, as it is shown in Ethiopia on ease of doing business in Ethiopia, is also among the lowest in the world. As I personally compare with Turkey, is here ease of doing business is better here. So we have to improve the institutional different institutions, and have to work on this institutional development and system. Also, we have to learn a lot from export. As it is known, Ethiopia is exporting a lot, but it's around agricultural products, not manufactured goods or other, like for instance, coffee, susam, or other agricultural products, and the flowers are exported. Average Ethiopia gets around 3 billion in revenue from export. So we have to work on export diversification. education in order to gain beneficial work. So the other question is also by Mr. Chairperson. I can't say anything on the case for bankruptcy of the British company, but I used the data for 2018 at a recent happening, but I think it have a negative effect. I didn't get the data based on the I didn't get the data on 2019-20, but I can't say anything on that. But my reflection on Ethiopia, on future Ethiopia and the Turkey relationship, or what people benefit from that, is I personally believe that it is better to focus on the expected benefits in general from FDI. That, as I said before, we don't have to focus on only volume. It's better to focus on how much job is created for use, export promotion, that increasing export revenue, which entails foreign currency generation. Also, technology transfer, I said before, import substitution also have to be given due respect. So knowledge transfer have to be taken into account for benefiting a lot from that. The other question also about the variable selection, country selection. We purposely we select Turkey because it's among the main investors in Africa, foreign direct investors, among the top foreign direct investors in Africa, especially also in Ethiopia, as said before. So we purposely selected that 8 African countries by the availability of data from ASD and other sources, World Bank. Also, we selected the variables as our variable is also goes with the economic theory. Then, but I think if we take into account the general, not only country specific, if we take into account the general growth effect on FDI growth effect, maybe we add some variables, but still it goes with economic theory. So our country selection and the variables is also based on purposely and also based on the availability of the data. I think if there is a question.
There is one final question by Abdurazak. What are possible reasons for land FDI tend to be negative?
Okay, from our study, I said land FDI from not from Turkey. Other FDI is also negative from our results. It is like attributed by the insufficient level of human capital. Insufficient level of human capital, productivity gap. There is productivity, but there is a lot of productivity gap in Africa. Also, as is known, there is lack of infrastructure and low level of trade. Because of this lack of infrastructure, the trade also volume is low. As I said before, ease of doing business in these African countries are, when you compare with developing country ones, it is low. So a lot of work has to be done on these issues. We are also going to add some recommendations from questions raised from this conference, and also we'll continue to work on the title. Thank you very much for your question.
Okay, one final question for you is what advice do you give to the government from the finding?
It is like a implication.
Yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I can't give. I say, but the paper is on progress. Finally, when we publish or before publication, we will have to present in another conference. I'll give them, but what on the negative areas. For example, I said before, we do have to focus on the volume of foreign direct investment. We have to focus on the benefit gained from them, on knowledge transfer, technology transfer, job creation, on the quality, not only about the quantity. We have to focus on that. Also, we have to, the government has to then monitoring and evaluation work on at different stages of the investment. This is my recommendation personally.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ismael. We are wrapping it up. The time is also up, but I think I have seen the hand of Tasfai. I don't know if you have. Okay, Dr. Professor is raising hand. Give chance for Professor to give more comments, please.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, and I'm really interested in all presentations, and I'm moved by Aman's presentation because it's a practical problem that we have even in the countries like Ethiopia. When I was in US, I did get a chance to visit a number of schools, like 10 schools, and the students students are allowed to use their smartphone, and I found that students, even they don't hear their teacher in the classroom, they enjoy, doing something with their smartphone. Actually, I suspect that students do using their smartphone what they are learning in the classroom, but I'm not sure. In Ethiopia, students are not allowed to come to school with smartphone, particularly in private schools. Now, my question is, you have suggested have quality time, but myself is in a problem. The time I'm spending on my smartphone is by far getting greater than the time I spend reading something else. What do you advise me? Because it's a very interesting and serious challenge, the question. If that technology has the power to disturb me, look at to what extent it disturbs my kids, for that matter. I'm not saying it's disturbing, actually, that term is not appropriate, but it's taking much of our time. Would it be productive to use it that way? Or I don't know what you could suggest for that. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much for the question, Professor. I directly pass to Dr. Aman for the reaction.
Well, I have to say thank you for the question. And then this is a really difficult question. But what I could say is, in every of our actions, be it an adult or a young, there is a purpose driving that behavior. There is an intention, there is some need we are trying to address through directing ourselves towards the usages of devices. But again, we cannot deny the places of technologies in our life these days. Maybe one of the lessons we can get is we wouldn't have been maybe done this conference in the absence of technologies, and this has become a part of our reality. So maybe what we have to do is we have to look for ways by which we can adapt with this change. So how can a technology be part of our life? But again, how can we be mindfully use it without distracting us from our purposes, from our goals? That is what makes it meaningful. So what I could say is we don't have to discourage people from using, and then that we don't have the option actually to discourage people from using technologies. That applies to my children too. That applies to every one of us. But again, maybe we can teach them how they have to mindfully use it, when to use, to what extent, what is the purpose behind using the technologies. So technology wouldn't be an end by itself. We wouldn't be using technology just for the sake of using it, but we would be using as a means to reach our life purposes. So what is the purposes of a student? Maybe getting better academic experience, maybe getting connected to his friends, maybe getting chances to share his experiences, his knowledge, maybe getting opportunities of searching for information, etc. Whatever the reason is, we can use it as a purpose. Maybe we can control, we can work on how much is it really contributing to what I wanted in my life. So the question we might help people to ask themselves is, how much is it contributing? Am I happy with it? Do I have to change something? So if we have to change something, we need to get back to our behavior and try to explore what needs we might have behind the usages of these smartphones. I don't know, it's just getting very complex and then very theoretic. That is what I could say. Thank you very much for the question.
Okay, thank you very much. The question is complex, but Aman has reacted well, I hope. If there is other question from Facebook or from somewhere else.
I have one question if I'm audible.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, first of all, I would like to congratulate Orda for such a magnificent move. This is our second annual conference. I am pleased really to see such diverse scholars and intellectuals under one platform. And I hope it will add some values to the knowledge production and distribution, both here in my country and maybe in Turkey and other African countries too. Coming to my question, I will address Dr. Hussein. Recently, because I'm interested in positive psychology, I was reading on positive psychology in relation with positive education. I hope you have heard of it, you are aware of it. Positive education is it's a kind of new curriculum. I think it's a new approach which combines the traditional approach with the positive psychology approach, which focuses on the well-being, the characters and the values, as well as such motivation, the good happiness and all these things. And I think it is successfully disseminating throughout the world, and I think it is being popularized by the centers in Pennsylvania University, by the father of positive psychology, Martin Seligman. And it is scientifically proven to be good almost all over the world. A lot of big data, research with huge representativeness has been done. So do you think this approach could be solving the problems of quality education, maybe in the context of our country? And if there is anything that you may suggest in regard to this positive education, if my question is clear.
Okay, thank you, Abdul Latif. Dear Professor, you may react to it. Allow the mic for the professor, please. Technical team. Okay.
Thank you, Abdul Latif, for that very interesting question. I personally believe that yes, it can contribute, but quality education is not, you see, a kind of thing that's affected by one factor. There are webs of factors affecting, complicating the challenge of quality education. It was one point that I raised, for instance, the motivation of students or the capacity of teachers. To be frank, I'm not familiar with what you have been talking as such. It's good that if you have materials, you can help me sending, and I'll be glad to read more. But from your question, I can understand that yes, it can help if it addresses the well-being, character, behavior of students. Why not? By the way, my conclusion is not, you see, it's not common in all countries for that matter. For instance, the motivation of students in the context of Ethiopia perhaps is under question. There are also other countries, and even worldwide, giant economies, people tend to question if an entrepreneur, for instance, can be rich and richer without education. Why investment on education are some of the questions, but I'm not undermining the importance of education. We usually proud that, okay, we are educated. You can have money, but without education, for me, it means nothing. So my answer to your question, perhaps not answer, my suggestion is, yes, it can contribute, but quality is a matter of complicated factors, and we have to dig out those factors, the input side, the process side, the output side, the outcome and impact of education should be clearly vividly revisited, and we have to look at the whole structure as quality education. So I'm sure I will benefit from what you have asked me. If you have the document, please send me. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor, for the response. I think the response of the professor addresses much of the issues that we have been raising. I think we have even taken more time. It's second session, so it's break time from now. So all the panelists as well as the participants of this session, thank you very much. This session ends here, everyone. Thank you. Have a good day.
How long is our break? Boqonnaa keenyaa hagam dheerata?
Just an announcement from the technical team. The afternoon session starts at 14, which is 2 p.m. So try to avail yourself at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So enjoy your lunch. We'll come back at 2.
Hello, Professor Hussein.